Okay, Eye for an Eye. I remember we played against them the other day. That name is definitely familiar. Opponent choosing whether they're going to be on the play or the draw. Alright, chat. Here's an interesting question that I forgot that I cared about for the last couple of days. Do any of you know ways in which you can make a chair less squeaky? I feel like this chair that I'm in didn't used to squeak when I did stuff like this, and now it does. And I'm assuming that's supposed to be something I'm able to fix if I was, like, handy, but I'm not. Oil it. Okay. I feel like I'm definitely keeping this. I'm uncertain. I suppose I'm probably supposed to go Shipwreck Marsh into Brightclimb Pathway. Oh, Graphite. Okay. That I can probably find some of. Zombies. Okay. I'm beginning to recall the deck that I think they played last time, which was that 4-mana enchantment that doubles zombie creatures. I am not interested in Champion of the Perished getting bigger. In the future, avoid race car shaped chairs. Yeah, I'll leave that. So what do? They Fading Hope to their own champion, which I assume is supposed to synergize with the doubling zombies enchantment. I'd like to continue removing the creature that is actually a threat. Do they want to bounce it again? No, they just negate me. Oh, opponent. I was not prepared for that. Okay. Keyless control. I don't know if that makes me brave, though. I feel like Key is probably secretly one of the worst cards in this deck, and I'm kind of surprised that it sees so much play. More counterspells? If I get Divide by Zeroed here, I really... Okay, no. That makes sense. A counterspell that makes a zombie, sure. Why not? Okay, well, let's bounce this champion and scry. Jwari Disruption is a land. I do want a land next turn. Okay, we'll take a land next turn. Now we get to do something with this Divide by Zero with the knowledge that we're already going to draw a land, so I don't necessarily need to go get the environmental sciences. You heard somebody had redeemed that I should go get you, huh, Socks? Made my job easy. Classic Chris, ask him about any hyped card in any given format and he'll tell you it's meh. I feel like that's only true like 60% of the time. I was very into Galvanic Iteration. Admittedly, I was into Galvanic Iteration starting when it was not a hyped card. Let's see. Well, I might as well cast spells to inconvenience my opponent. Opponent has 5 cards in hand, one of which might be a counterspell. We get to play a land. Do I want to environmental sciences? Do I want a teachings? I think I probably want a teachings here. So if I just jam teachings and hope to top deck an untapped white source for Vanishing Verse, well, even if I just top deck any spell at all, or any untapped land at all, I could still hold up Jwari Disruption, which might matter. Do they have any 2-mana flash spell they could have here to totally blow me out? That I should play Jwari Disruption as a land ahead of time to play around? I don't know of any flash creature. And if they play an actual counterspell, that's not really... Like, it'll still counter teachings. Yeah, okay. So the negate didn't punish me here at all, because the Jwari Disruption didn't affect that. They had 5 cards in hand, did they not? Yes, they had 5 cards with the negate, right? I think I wasn't totally crazy there. Alright, still missing that land. A little concerning. Could play the Lier. Sets me up to have a bunch of Vanishing Verses if the Lier survives. I could also just Memory Deluge and try to hit an untapped black source for Vanishing Verse. I suppose that's probably the most appealing option. It succeeds. Hive of the Eye Tyrant being a tapped land here makes me kind of not interested in taking it, but I do want to make the 7th land, and I don't need another Discover the Formula for certain. I could take Divide by 0 instead of the Hive? Where does that leave me next turn? The ability to play Divide by 0... No, I don't think the Divide by 0 is as useful as just having a guaranteed land drop next turn. And let's remove that Champion of the Perished. Are the Fading Hopes in here to protect Lier? Partially that, partially also that it does help give us more interaction. I am interested in potentially just completely cutting the Fading Hopes, but I don't think, with us having been maxed out on Vanishing Verses, that there's really an alternative I could play that's terribly better against aggro. We're already playing a lot of 2-mana removal. So the fact that Fading Hope just is a card that gives us slightly more flexibility with how we curve out, I sort of appreciate. But yeah, I think that this is a deck that cares enough about resources that it's still not worth playing for Fading Hopes. Good game, they say. Oh, because I have a Lier in play. Okay, sure. So how does green beat blue? Every creature gets countered or bounced. Do you mean in general, or do you mean right now in this format? Because if you mean in general, well, generally the hope is that you get to be more mana efficient with your threats than control is with its answers. And when that kind of... what's the word I'm looking for? When that dichotomy favors green as having cheaper threats than control has answers, green typically wins those matchups. And when it swings the other way, control usually wins them. But that said, I think that right now, with control running Vanishing Verse, it has pretty efficient answers to most of green's creatures. And I don't think that leaves green in a terribly good spot. But that's more of a temporary condition, I think, than anything kind of fundamental about the inherent balance of aggro versus control. But that is still to say that mono green has access to Snakeskin Veil, which continues to be its best card against spot removal based decks like the way Esper is currently set up. Okay, so we were playing against zombies. I don't really want to increase my curve. I'm kind of interested in Infernal Grasp and Parasitic Grasp, I guess. Do I have any bad cards? I guess Break Expectations isn't, like, excellent. So I guess I'll cut the 2 of those for more hard removal. Might as well. I could play Imrit, I guess. It might block stuff well. Not Tainted Adversary, certainly. Is it better than Break Expectations? I don't know. Malevolent Hermit's also interesting. I don't think I'll bring in Malevolent Hermit, But it could possibly be a card worth considering in the sense that it is a 2-drop that trades with early creatures. What's the Imrith brought in for? My thought was that I wanted to try it out against Brushstroke decks and against Dragon decks. Against Brushstroke decks as a way to have a clock, and against Dragon's deck as a way to have a good blocker. We will keep this. Although it doesn't actually give us anything to do on turn 2, but it's got 3 lands. I wonder if I was supposed to play the Deserted Beach there so that a higher percentage of untapped lands let me hold up Vanishing Verse, or if playing Shipwreck Marsh was more correct because it was guaranteed to give us Infernal Grasp. Given that my opponent played Jadar, I guess I'm happy that I held up Infernal Grasp. Oh, I was also interested in bringing Imrith in against Control and seeing if that did anything. Cool. So we had the opponent attack with the zombie token here, which only after they make that decision do I want to try to Infernal Grasp it. The timing on that flip the switch really didn't work out for them, because now they don't actually get a zombie. Which, you know what, I'm happy with that. I could try to Meathook Massacre for 1 here just to kill the Jadar. Do I want to do that, or do I want to save the Meathook Massacre? I think I probably want to save the Meathook Massacre and just plan to divide by 0 something here. But depending on how many counterspells my opponent has, which I don't really have access to that information, it might have been better to just resolve the Meathook when I could. Headless Chris. Yeah, but you actually get the top half of a sock, so that's probably an improvement. Break Expectations, huh? They already played a land, no? Yes. Alright, you know what, opponent? You can have that Break Expectations back. Because you don't have another black source. I imagine the Divide by 0 gets countered. Oh, no, it doesn't. Okay. Well, in that case I'm going to take Environmental Sciences, because the other 2 cards aren't really relevant yet. Okay. So we assume the opponent probably has a counterspell here, but didn't want to use it. They're going to Break Expectations me, and at this point they're probably going to take Discover the Formula. I kind of think that leaves me wanting to Environmental Sciences here, and then I'm probably going to Vanishing Verse the Jadar. Oh, right. Alright, that's a reason that the planes kind of matters, actually. I feel like I might have been deceived earlier with the advice to cut the planes. Having 3 basics instead of 2 does make that line different. Alright, I would like to try to kill the Jadar. Our opponent has not played Break Expectations, which is interesting. Does that mean they have some 4-mana spell they want to play? Another Flip the Switch, which continues to feel kind of awkward with a Jadar trigger in play. So now they get to Break Expectations me, which I have to assume takes Meathook Massacre. Maybe not. No? Okay. So they do take the card advantage. I could try to get a middle win con going. That seems like a bad idea. Pyre of Heroes seems kind of useless, so we're going to take the removal spell. We have a lot of those, apparently. Alright, let's get a Meathook Massacre down. Howdy, Cerizium. Game's going alright. This is the first one of the evening. I wasn't advocating going down to 2 basics. Was advocating for 2 islands or 2 swamps. Ah, okay, okay. Yeah, there might be enough white sources to make that acceptable. Where are you? Huh. Bye, kitty. Kind of feel like I probably just want a Spiked Pit Trap the Archghoul here. Oh, no treasure. Actually kind of is a bummer, because I'd like to get a 6-mana spell. Okay, opponent has a Shambling Ghast. Sure. They find their zombie doubling enchantment. What's the name of that card? Is it Necro Mastery? Alright, play Jwari Disruption so we can just slam a top deck 6 mana card draw spell. It's also probably worthwhile if we ever find a Lier. Necro Duality, that's the name. Alright, taking some damage. How much? There it is. Unless we pay 4. Got it. Alright, I would like to exile the Necro Duality. We are successful at this. Lovely. Well, I think I can leave the Shambling Ghast alone for a while. They don't know I have another Meathook Massacre, so they're likely to play out creatures. Is this whenever you cast? No. Okay, so we're not going to use the other Vanishing Verse on it. I wish I had used the other Vanishing Verse on it because we immediately top-decked a Lier. Opponent could be playing Counterspell number 3 here. But they could also be holding on to a negate, and playing the Lier is very good against negate. Alright, let's hope we don't get flipped. We don't get flipped. Excellent. I think I'm going to hold on to the Vanishing Verse. I don't need to use it on Necro Duality until after they cast the spell, and before the spell resolves. I don't think I'm terribly likely to get punished for this. Okay, and if they don't have anything to do, then we can just Vanishing Verse the Necro Duality at the end of turn. Socks. Come on. No, none of that. Overcharged Amalgam. Okay, so they get 2 3/3 flyers. They attempt to counter Vanishing Verse, which doesn't work because Lier is in play. So if they had waited on that Overcharged Amalgam and let the Necro Duality go away... Oh, no. I wouldn't have cast Meathook Massacre for 3 then. I was thinking of ways they possibly could sack the Shambling Ghast to give Lier -1/-1 after I Meathook Massacred, but the simple answer is that I just wouldn't bother with casting Meathook Massacre if that was the case. Yeah. Hard for the opponent to beat the Vanishing Verse and, well, all the spells in the graveyard. So let's go and add a basic, shall we? Alright, that's a very dicey Vanishing Verse, but hey, we have a hand with 3 lands. This is why you run 30 lands. So occasionally you get to keep super sketch hands, right? Lier feels like a 5-mana Ugin, just flips the advantage completely. Kind of. Certainly, it is a win con. The weird thing is, it's very difficult to describe when Lier is actually a 5-mana card and when it's like a 7-mana card. Because in certain matchups, you just can't play Lier on 5. That's a horrible idea. But in other matchups, you can sort of do that. But I suppose being flexible in that sense is a benefit, not a flaw. Do I want to lead on? I suppose it's always correct to lead on Jwari Disruption over Seagate Restoration here. Seagate Restoration could come into play tapped, even though I would prefer both of them to come into play tapped because I don't want to pay 3 life. Jaspera Sentinel. Is there any reason to Fading Hope now instead of waiting? Well, I think that I'm supposed to break expectations here. Oh yeah, that's a scary hand. I don't like the hand. So, I don't want to have to Fading Hope a 1-drop, which makes me think that I should remove Magda, because if they play Magda, I have to Fading Hope the Jaspera Sentinel in response, and then they still have a Magda. This way around, I guess I can hope that they don't have the double green for Pack Leader, and that they wind up playing Ranger class, and then I get to Fading Hope the Ranger class. And then I only probably die to the Reckless Stormseeker. I've seen a Seth stream when he attempted to counter something and wondered why the game was asking him if he wanted to do that. Chat bailed him out. The opponent had no such luxury. I've definitely got bailed out by the game asking, are you sure you want to do that? With Ward specifically. And me just going, why is the game asking me? Oh, because if I try to cast this, I have to pay 3 life. And I'm at 2 life. Okay, so opponent went for red mana. Oh, Gingerbread's actually a scary card for them to get with Jwari Sentinel, isn't it? Huh, that's a bummer. Okay. Oh? Whoa, 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 whoa. What just happened? It asked... I thought I passed to attackers. Did it pass through their entire declare attackers step when they didn't attack with Jwari Sentinel? Or did I misread something and accidentally passed through the combat step as well? Does it pass through declare blockers if there's no declared attackers? Because I really was supposed to bounce this wolf before they got to their second main phase and got the opportunity to play Gingerbread. But they're probably doing this because they have the hexproof spell up. Yeah, which is a problem. Which is a problem. Well, now that I can't cast this Vanishing Verse, I probably lose this game. I don't think I can win this. I could technically, I guess, draw Meathook Massacre untapped land. Alright, it's a Meathook Massacre. Still paying a lot of life, but the alternative to the Seagate Restoration is not a less painful land. The alternative is a less landy spell. If they don't declare any attackers, Arena won't hold priority for the rest of combat. Okay, I guess I need to set manual stops there then. That's concerning but interesting to know. I assume I'm supposed to make blocks that save Sorin if they allow me to. They are not interested in even hurting Sorin. Cool. Works for me. I will block to save the maximum amount of life then, because my current not dying condition involves hitting an untapped land so that I can Meathook Massacre. Okay, Sorin. Sorin, you got one job. Alternatively, top-ticking the other Sorin means that I could down-tick one Sorin and then down-tick another Sorin, which puts a pretty decent board in play, but they attack with... Ranger class making something a 4/4 makes that not an acceptable line. I think I just have to roll the dice and hit an untapped land. And we have failed, and we have hit a tap land. Which I think probably makes me extremely dead if I had to guess.
You will serve me
well. Oof. Okay. Tovolar is big and tramply. How big and how tramply? So, taking 6, 9... No, I think that makes me dead. It does indeed make me dead. Nah, bummer. We were pretty close there. Sorin had 2 jobs, to be fair. Sorin needed to buy us an extra turn, and it did buy us an extra turn. And then it needed to make sure we found an untapped land, and that's where it sort of failed. Alright. So, what do we want here? I'm not totally sold on the idea of Break Expectations. I am sold on the idea of more removal spells. And I think I'm probably sold on the idea of an Imrith here. I think I'd rather trim a Discover the Formula than anything else if I'm bringing in Imrith. I think Malevolent Hermit's probably totally useless in this matchup. So... alright, let's roll. It is perhaps a little concerning that I'm still playing 2 Hand 8 spells, and I don't think I want to do that necessarily, and might mean that I don't have enough anti-aggro cards in the sideboard, but I also don't know if I have enough room for those in the sideboard. I think Jwari Disruption into Divide by 0 is totally fine on the play. This might not be a good hand on the draw. Lulu Daddy, thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. Tenacious Pup, sure. That's actually really weak against Jwari Disruption and Divide by 0, so I'm happy to see it. I have plenty of white sources, so I think it's totally safe to play this on Brightclimb Pathway. I don't think I ever need more than 2 white sources, realistically. Rahilda, with a counter on it, wow, that'd be so big if it was in play. I love that Tenacious Pup gets wasted by counter spells. That's very satisfying. Okay, more lands, but we have Memory Deluge, so we're ostensibly totally fine with that. Happy to Divide by 0 the Ranger class. I think the existence of Fading Hope means that I can grab Teachings of the Archaics here. Meathook Massacre. Alright, that's a good card. We Teachings, we still have Fading Hope up. Card advantage is cool. More removal, seems cool. Opponent plays a Ranger class, that's fine by me because I can just Meathook Massacre for 2, still holding up Fading Hope. Still making land drops the entire time. It is a little bit of a bummer that Vanishing Verse and Meathook Massacre don't really synergize. I shouldn't complain too much that my very good removal spells aren't necessarily super great with each other. I would like my opponent to not attack me with a Reckless Stormseeker so that can go back to their hand. Do I want more lands? I don't think I necessarily need more lands desperately. I might draw more lands anyway, naturally. Okay. Lier is cool. I think our plan for this turn is to Memory Deluge and Vanishing Verse, though. We will Memory Deluge in case we hit a Jwari Disruption. We don't. Rude. Discover the Formula, however, seems excellent. And Parasitic Grasp is kind of weird against werewolves. Its dynamic changes a lot depending on whether it's day or night. Because it's 2 mana kill everything during the day and 3 mana kill nothing at night. Huh. I think I end up taking Infernal Grasp here. I'm a little worried about taking a Vanishing Verse, even though it's generally a better removal spell, because they do have Tovolar in their deck. But I can Vanishing Verse the Eye Tyrant here. Yeah, I would like to exile the Eye Tyrant. That feels so much better than bouncing it. I will pay life to have lands. We will draw lands, which is excellent. I believe I am probably just supposed to play a Lier. Well, I could play Discover the Formula into Infernal Grasp. That also sounds like a lot of fun. Alright, let's do the Discover the Formula thing. That sounds like more fun. That is a Reckless Stormseeker, sure. Opponent debates activating Ranger class and does, therefore not having the ability to protect the Slasher. I would like to use my 1 mana removal spell on that Slasher. Only costs 1 life. You love to see it. We'll decline to sacrifice Shattered Sanctum. We top deck a land. You also love to see it. And Lier holding up a 1-mana Infernal Grasp and a 2-mana Divide by Zero seems like a good plan. And we have probably stabilized. Opponent agrees that I have stabilized. Good timing, opponent. Nice to have you as part of the comedic duo. Yeah, no changes here. I would feel much more comfortable if my 2 hand hate spells were 2 more Parasitic Grasps here. Once again, I'm left wondering why I'm not allowed to have a 17-card sideboard. Lier is surprisingly fast at winning games. Lier is lethal very quickly when your opponent is willing to just concede to Lier. Not every opponent is willing to do that, though. Okay, sure, why not? What's the worst that could happen with this hand that doesn't have any black sources and 2... Wow, yeah, what was the worst that could happen? I shouldn't have questioned that hand as much as I did. I guess opponent knew we were definitely going to draw the black sources. I mean, Divide by Zero theoretically had the ability to go get an Environmental Sciences, which got us halfway there. And I still could definitely play Deserted Beach, Shock Seagate, hold up Jwari Disruption, and then Divide by Zero. I was only probably completely unfavored for that game, but yeah, alright.